Welcome to the Wisp Mama Bear Podcast, episode 51. I'm your host, Sarah Yacoub. Today's topic, the psychology of corruption. Good morning. I hope everyone had a restful and enjoyable weekend. I don't want to jinx anything, but this winter has been very tame, so I hope everyone's had an opportunity to get out and get some fresh air and enjoy this civilized weather. If you told a gang member in Los Angeles that his gang leader could stand in the middle of Hollywood Boulevard, shoot a police officer, get away with it, and not lose the support of a single gang member within their gang, that gang member would probably be thinking, hell yeah, that's real power. That hypothetical, while horrifying to anyone on the outside looking in, just reiterates for that gang member that they pick the right gang. They're part of the gang with power. Similar to those who terrorize their families behind closed doors and how they derive a sense of power from the rules that apply to everyone else, or more specifically their target, as compared to the rules that apply to them as the entitled perpetrator, corrupt politicians play a similar game. One might think that challenging a corrupt politician for office is easier than running against someone who is honorable, with whom there are just differences of opinions when it comes to public policy. Spoiler alert, it's not, but let's break it down. Using Shannon Zimmerman as an example, he is someone who consistently operates as though he believes himself to be above rules and or laws. Simply put, that rules and laws do not apply to him. Today, we will just be examining his approach in a political context. For those detectives who are listening out there, do some open records requests on him with local law enforcement, and or spend some time on Google, and you'll very quickly get a picture of the skeletons in this person's closet. Thanks to the hard work, due diligence, and yes, courage of various reporters and news media throughout the state of Wisconsin, Zimmerman's unethical and unlawful dealings as a member of the state assembly are fairly well memorialized. He is going into his 5th year of representing a district for which he is not a qualified elector and in which he does not live. By voting in state legislative and local elections in which he is not a qualified elector and falsifying sworn filings to represent the 30th Assembly District with a fake address, he has exposed himself to over 300 years of state prison and more than $1 million in potential fines, not including restitution. He hides his out-of-state business interests from taxpayers in his filings, which, yes, is both unethical and unlawful. None of these things are well-kept secrets. So why does he keep getting elected? Well, for one, he's willing to shamelessly lie about anyone who challenges him and has local party leaders who are shameless enough to toe the line on those lies. Because win at all costs, right? Second, those who financially benefit from the fact that he is a rubber stamp for Madison Republicans spend a whole lot of money in order to continue milking their golden cows that are corrupt politicians. #Foxconn. Beyond that which is predictable dirty politics is a phenomenon not often discussed, and that is the role or value of a dirty politician's corruption in maintaining power. On its face, it makes no sense at all. Shouldn't everyone, conservative and liberals alike, want to remove corrupt politicians from office? Among the most redeeming qualities of Trump supporters is that they said they wanted to drain the swamp in Washington, D.C. As something rooted in the values of voters beyond partisanship, shouldn't this be easy, or rather, a no-brainer? And yet, it is not. Why? Conditioned abuse dynamics. Someone who terrorizes their target behind closed doors doesn't generally punch them in the face on their first date. Someone who sexually assaults children grooms them for the same reason frogs can be expected to jump out of boiling water, but will stay to their demise if the heat comes to a boil gradually. Corrupt politicians use similar tactics. In Shannon Zimmerman's case, no one paying attention actually thinks he lives in a room in his son's duplex basement when he owns a mansion just outside of town. That leaves his voters in the position of defensiveness, given the reflection on them as voters who either knew or should have known and enabled it. Their options are 1. Dismiss Shannon's voter and election fraud as, no big deal. Or 2. Embrace the magnitude of the fraudulent conduct that occurred and deal with the implications that they themselves enabled it. Which pill do you suppose is easier to swallow or more socially convenient? For those who embody the twisted view on power as rules that apply to everyone else but not to them, Shannon Zimmerman's entitled lawlessness and inability to comply with even the most basic tenets of ethics is actually a sign of power. We've seen pockets of this kind of corruption before in our nation's history. It took the federal government coming in and cleaning up shop for the South to knock it the hell off in their corruption as it pertains to disenfranchising voters of color. While there is still much work to be done, it used to be so much worse. It was not uncommon for persons of color to have no meaningful recourse at the local level, as local law enforcement, the local district attorney, and those on the bench at the time were not going to pursue justice. They were not interested in making that which was very clearly wrong and unlawful right. Rather than corruption that survives predominantly as a function of racism, as it did and does in the South, our local corruption festers at the pleasure of partisan political dynamics. Between gerrymandering and the propaganda that we actually pay for as taxpayers for our Republican legislators to send to us, there's just enough misinformation to enable more of the same, even where that means more unlawful and/or unethical conduct on the part of our representatives, those who are elected to serve our community. The fact that this has been going on for years just contributes to a sense of learned helplessness, that there is no use in trying. Candidates who advocate for better, who take a stand for good government, get dismissed as naive, unrealistic. Those that insulate corruption are a combination of those who benefit from it personally and those who dismiss it for any number of reasons. Wisconsin used to be known for good government. There is no shortage of communities across this great nation that work hard to maintain integrity and accountability in government. That's not to say shenanigans don't happen there, just that when they do, it's actually dealt with in a competent manner that actually inspires confidence and discourages more of the same. Why does it matter? Places that work to further integrity and accountability in public service enjoy strong economies and more prosperous communities. We see this on the international stage as countries marred by corruption have a substantially lower GDP than those that work to function honorably. The illusion of political corruption is that it benefits anyone. It doesn't. Even those whom it appears to benefit in the short term lose as their corruption corrodes their home turf, their community, their local economy overall. The Republican politician approach to scandals tends to be to keep their heads down, say nothing, and hope that it passes. Where the scandal starts to resonate, we see politicians like Shannon Zimmerman hide behind third parties who are willing to lie about and/or minimize what is going on and attack or attempt to discredit the messenger. I can never tell if people willing to lie for corrupt politicians really believe what they are saying and were just misled by someone whom they want to believe, or if they know better and are purposefully misleading the public. I would like to believe that it is the former, but when people make it clear in their communication that they are more interested in sticking to their assertions, however debunked or erroneous, than letting verifiable objective facts guide their conclusions, it's hard to ignore the agenda. And don't underestimate the agenda that is social convenience. So, to those who have been paying attention to the local corruption of politicians like Shannon Zimmerman, my call to you is to be brave and demand better. It cannot be that there are truly no honorable conservatives in this community who can run to serve in the state assembly. My call to the community is to stand up for right in the face of wrong, to take a stand against corruption, as we all pay the price for enabling more of the same. This is not a Democrat versus Republican or conservative versus liberal issue. This is an issue or a question of where we stand on issues like honesty, integrity, accountability, and personal responsibility. Episode 52 tomorrow. See you there.